Welcome to Next Step Career Corner. I'm your host, Stephanie Renk, a certified career coach. Leaders aren't hired for tasks, they're hired for outcomes. And today we're talking about how leaders can stand out right now in this complicated job market. So here's a quick snapshot as of August 2025. So unemployment is holding at 4.2%. July payroll growth cooled to 73,000 jobs. Job openings are about 7.4 million. And the quit rate is a steady 2%. This is based on LinkedIn's real-time data and some other statistics, but with the recent chaos with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're not quite sure. So we got to focus on some other things besides numbers. So in this solo episode, I'm going to show you how to position your leadership brand around business impact, update your executive resume in LinkedIn so they pass both human and ATS screenings, work the hidden market with warm introductions, and interview like an operator, clear frameworks, tight metrics, and story arcs. So grab a notebook. We're going to turn this into wins for you and how to prove your effectiveness in an interview. Okay, so first, let's talk about mindset. So it is very, very tough out there, especially if you're just hitting the apply button. And it doesn't help if you have a wide net of potential jobs that you're interested in. So we really have to own what you're going for. So sit back, think about what your background is, and think about the levels that you have when you're job searching. So the shortest, most effective job searches are when you're doing the same job in the same industry. You're qualified. It's very easy to see. It's in your most recent job. You have background to show your growth in that arena, and you just move forward. The second longest job search typically are when you're doing the same industry, same type of role, but maybe you're trying to move up the corporate ladder. So maybe you've gone from an individual contributor into a manager, or maybe you've been at that director role and now you want to go for that VP, maybe even a C-suite role. So that is, hey, I'm ready for this type of role. You have the industry background, you know the knowledge, you've been working with budgets, you've been working with people leadership. It's just taking that next step into a bigger arena, right? More responsibility, different type of groups that maybe you don't have background in. Then after that, you have the completely brand new role, completely brand new industry. Then it takes a little bit longer. So what I am seeing right now in August of 2025 is if you're not hitting the qualifications for these job roles, you could be kicked out. For example, I have a client that has a doctor he's a doctor of chiropractic and he's moving into data analytics. We believe he's being screened out because he doesn't actually have the word bachelor on his resume because it was a streamlined program. So he moved straight into this doctor program, and then we kind of, as he's switching industries and different roles, that bachelor could be. So stay tuned. We're going to see if that makes a difference. Then the next thing, no matter what you're doing, you do have to think about your wins. And then at the executive or leadership level, think about business levers that these leaders are looking at. So they're looking at revenue, they're looking at budgets, they're looking at margins or costs, they're looking at risk, speed, and then the customer. So if you have any dealings with these buckets, talk about it, right? Even if you were a part of a risk management or risk strategy, you weren't leading it, but you were a part of it, you want to talk about that. If you had a budget, but you weren't doing the full P&L, talk about the budget. You can learn these things, or you can take trainings to buffer your profile to be stronger, right? And then you have to think about how you're writing this out. We want stronger action verbs, which everyone will tell you, but then also think about that bottom line impact. So managing a team of 12, 20, 30 people, great, but I'd rather see how you improved onboarding time by 32% and cut churn by 2 points and how you did that. So one, think about your strategy, think about where you're going, where you want to go. And then two, look at the value that you bring to these roles And then 3, translate it on your resume. We don't need a summary of responsibilities. We need actual impact, right? Actual impact on these documents and in your profile. So then we move a little more into branding. So we want to think about the title of your resume. So your role level, your scope, the context of your role, and then outcomes. So depending, this could be on your LinkedIn or your resume. You might have multi-sites ops leader with a pipe, $80 million P&L with a pipe, turnaround and scale, right? Some keywords there. We need numbers as much as you can. And I know this is hard for entry-level, associate-level roles, but as you move up, keep track of this. This is also very, very good for your performance evaluation. So every time you do those, every 6 months, every 12 months, and you're writing those details out, ask your manager for that information if you can get it, and then just scribble it on your resume draft just to have something there, right? So love to see the full scope there of what you did. So what was the before situation? What was the obstacle you overcame? And then what happened afterward? A trick I've seen for resume writing is the CAR. So challenge, action, result. You could also write it in that way, but we really want to see impact that you've had. And if you don't have metrics, examples. What type of examples do you have out there that you can list that maybe you developed a dashboard, or maybe you grew a team from 0 to however many employees? We want to see that, right? And then name it. Name what you've done. So my trick is I add little categories that act as keywords, but revenue optimization, then colon, and then the information that you have where you made that impact. So there's a lot you can do. Yes, maybe ChatGPT can help you structure some of these things. Maybe you can ask it for, hey, what is the most important things that I should have showed impact in with this role, or what are they looking for in this role? But if you just copy and paste that data, it's not really telling the story. It's going to write it in a typical boring resume bullet where you can add your background here. So we want metrics, we want to know the story, and we want to see that you've made impact. So again, those major buckets to think about are revenue, margins, costs, risk, speed, and customers. Okay, so again, I'm going to repeat myself just to make sure that we have this. Think about the top of your resume, titles, make them very strong. Think about your value proposition. If you don't know what a value proposition, again, have a conversation with Chat or work with your career coach, because then it'll be more personal to you. I like to have things that show leadership as well as action. So I have both. Like, this is the type of person or leader I am, and these are the things I can do for you. Definitely have those keywords, have those actions, and those metrics. So for me, I would write cost optimization, colon, cut vendor spend 14% via rebids and SKU, rationalization. So I did this, and this is how I did it, right? Keep it simple. These resume templates out there, they can get crazy. Don't use Canva, not in the US at least. You don't want to use any of the Word or the ones that are generic. Honestly, I would much rather see a boring black and white. Maybe you use font size and bold and underline to help emphasize key points. But a simple resume is going to get through the application tracking system, and then it will get through to the recruiter, and it's very easy to scan, right? So there's your resume. Then we get into LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, if you're in corporate, very important. If you're in sales, technology, very, very important. The only time I don't really see LinkedIn being helpful is maybe if you're you're a teacher at elementary or high school. You're generally not on LinkedIn looking for jobs, and occasionally hospital systems. However, the higher up you go, the more LinkedIn becomes important, because you're a leader. You need to have some thought leadership. So typically you get a headline. For example, mine would say career coach at Next Step Career Services. It's boring. It's like, okay. What I'd rather see is a title based on where you are or where you want to go, depending on how you're using your LinkedIn. Talk about your industry, talk about a couple outcomes, throw in a couple keywords, the categories that you are an expert at. I think you have about 220 characters, so you have some space there. Very, very easy to create. Um, the about, I like to have a very personal first person about section. So, little summary of who you are, maybe a blurb about your current role, talk about what makes you stand out, and then a list of key areas of expertise. This will help optimize your profile along with the skills throughout your LinkedIn profile. But I can just click on more, read very quickly who you are, get a sense of who you are as a person. You don't need to stuff it with outcomes yet because you're going to put that in the job descriptions, right? And then you move into those job descriptions. It's up to you how far back you want to go. Do worry about lengthiness of your LinkedIn. But those in the last 10 to 15 years, those are the roles we want to see a summary of what you've done and then throw in some impact. Do be careful about information that you put out there just because some things may be confidential to that company. But if you're in sales, for example, talk about revenue, talk about percentage increases, talk about those things that matter in your role, right? Okay, so then LinkedIn. I know it's social. I know people do not like to post, but if you're moving up into a leadership role, you really do have to think about your thought leadership as a leader. So even if you're a manager and you're wanting to move into that director role, and more importantly, director role into VP and VP into C-suite, we really need to see your expertise. So maybe you're a technical person, you're very much I've been working with data analytics recently, so you're in the data, but you're also a mentor. Maybe your LinkedIn posts are about mentoring others and the joy you get out of that. It doesn't have to be about the technical data analytics, right? Even on my profile on LinkedIn, I've been talking more about leadership and my journey through cancer and how that has changed me, not only as an individual, but as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, as a coach. And I talk about that. And I actually get more engagement on those type of posts than I do when I say, hey, 5 tips on updating your resume, right? So it doesn't have to be the technical aspect of your job. It could very much be your leadership or something along the lines of what you care about, right? So think about it. Try and post something once a week would be nice just to get engagement. You can also use LinkedIn to network. You know, it's your contact list. So check in with people, comment on other people's stuff. I mean, follow who's important to you and comment on them. Give them kudos, share their information, send them messages. And then if you can, reach out to other people in your industry, follow through. I would say at least a third of my network is currently other career coaches in my industry, and it is fun to see what everybody else is doing. So again, it doesn't have to be boring stuff. Like, make it what you're passionate about and follow those companies and follow those people, right? Then there's the hidden job market. Honestly, it's who you know. I mean, if someone is referring somebody to a position, absolutely am I going to interview that candidate because I know the person referring them, I trust their judgment, and I want to see who they're introducing to us. It's also a great way to get outside of hitting apply. Um, there's there's just so many aspects to it. I mean, I've heard recruiters look at all the resumes. I know some recruiters set up AI filters. It might rank your resume, it might not. Either way, if there are hundreds and hundreds of applications, they don't have a chance, even if they're manually going through them all, to see every single document. So, network, right? This is where you create a strategy. So, first, what are some organizations that you want to work for? Forget the job. Where do you want to work? That matters, right? I worked at a biotech company because they were coming up with a new drug for Alzheimer's. My grandmothers, both of them, had Alzheimer's. That was passionate for me. My very first job was post-secondary education. I still, to this day, love education and professional development and helping veterans transition to post-secondary education, whether it was a 4-year degree or a trade school. That was really great about it. I don't think I had any job where I just didn't care about it. So think about, what organizations do you want to work for? And then see if you know anybody who has connections there. Warm introductions are going to make a huge difference. Again, it's like that referral. If somebody tells me, hey, Stephanie, you need to talk to this person, they are an expert in their area, or maybe they have the same values, or maybe they, whatever that connection is, have a conversation. You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to take up too much of their time, but a warm introduction, they're more likely to respond to you. So buy them coffee, send them an e-gift card for coffee if you're meeting on Zoom, or just email back and forth, but try to make those connections. My thing is not to ask for a job. My aspect is, who else should I talk to? The more people you can get to know, the stronger your network is, and the more likely you're going to find a position, or at least somewhere to look, that is more aligned with your values, right? And then think about sponsors, mentors. I just went to Go Lead Idaho recently. It's a women leaders group here in Boise, and they were talking about mentors. Maybe these mentors can help you grow, as well as connect you with the right people to put you in the right room, right? And if these mentors sponsor you, then they can say, hey, that person would be great. So this is more effective internally, but even externally, they might be able to say, hey, I know exactly who we need to talk to. And then they headhunt you for that role, which could be great. So you have to keep the network going, right? It's like friends. You can't just disappear for 5 years and then expect help, but do follow up with folks, keep in touch, send Christmas cards, things like that. So here's a cadence you can follow. Maybe you do 5 warm introductions a week, especially if you're hard hitting the job search. So see if you can get 5 warm introductions, and then follow up 3 of them. Do not follow up so consistently that you become annoying. Just follow up once or twice and then let it go. People are busy, right? It's not you. Don't take it personally. Life happens. The higher up you go, the more meetings there are, right? So it's hard to find some time. And then, of course, throw in a value share that you have. So maybe it's the industry, maybe it's something in the community, maybe it's faith, whatever it is, try and connect with something with that person so they're more likely to speak with you. Another area, especially for my senior leaders, are boards. Nonprofit, for-profit, go find a board that you can champion. Most leaders start with nonprofit, they're unpaid positions. And it's much, much easier to get on a board, because at that point, nonprofits are very excited to have help, right? Dig in. And then that could potentially lead to some for-profit boards. So be sure to find something you can champion. And it could be related to your industry. It could be related to your profession. It could be related to leadership. It could be related to something close to your heart. But get out there, right? Be more than just that person sitting at your desk. So that is something else you can do. I know, when you're in the middle of your career, you're balancing family, you're balancing health, you're balancing maybe some aging parents. But if you have some time, pick one that you can champion. And then this could also lead to other introductions in other places that you may have opportunities that you just didn't even think about. All right. Then we get into interview strategy. So I could go on and on, here about what you could talk about. It goes back to your values. So way back when you were working on your resume, what were your areas of strength? You can talk about those. Make sure that's a part of your brand. It's the first thing out of your mouth, and it's the last thing out of your mouth. This is what is important to me and what I can do for you. You got to remember, when you're interviewing for that role or you're interviewing that company as well. Like, do you want to work there? I would hope you're in a position where you can pick and choose what you want versus that desperation of, oh, I need a job. If you're in that position, you still want to showcase your values. You don't want to be put in a role that misaligned, because then you're going to be looking in 3 months because you're miserable. So if you can, think about those values that matter to you and match them to the company. I very much encourage you to speak to who you are as a person, summarize your background, that matters, and then talk about your strengths, right? Here's what I bring to the table, boom, 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 and talk about those things, right? And then, keep track of what's going on. Do your best to have an idea of what the interview process would be, because I have clients, I mean, they're on their fifth, sixth interview, and they didn't expect it, right? Oh, you're going to meet with the recruiter, and then you're going to meet with the hiring manager, and then you're going to meet with a bunch of folks, and then we'll have a decision. Oh, wait, no, we want one more. That's the fourth interview. Oh, wait, we want one more. And it drags on and on and on. And then you're looking at 6 weeks of interviewing for one role. So imagine having multiple interviews for different companies going on at the same time. It'd be crazy. So ask what the timeline is. You also want to talk about salary ranges, right? If they don't bring it up, ask them, what's the range? What's the range? One, if you get to ask them, they more likely will give you a range versus asking you what you want, but throw it out there, right? Do your research, know what is average. Sure, you can go for more money if you can, but you might knock yourself out of a good opportunity too early, but talk about it, right? Go in there, have an understanding. I'm seeing more and more transparency about salary ranges, so that is nice. And the higher up you go, I'm pretty sure most companies are giving you, hey, this is the salary, this is kind of what we're expecting. And then, of course, the higher up, you're more likely getting headhunted too. So you can have those conversations up front before you waste your time, right? So don't make these mistakes. Don't spray and pray with applications, right? It's not worth your time. The more you grow in your career, the more people you know, those leads should be coming to you. And it will happen where maybe 5 or 6 jobs, you've been headhunted, boom, 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 and then suddenly you're like, oh, now I have to look for a job. That does happen, but it doesn't mean you can't reconnect with your network and then reach out and see if you can have some conversations, right? And then avoid task heavy resume bullets. I want those outcomes. We may need some context. I manage these teams. I had these responsibilities. I get that, right? Make it very, very short and sweet. We know what you do. Make those bullets about impact. Make those things about accomplishment. So if you can do metrics, go for it. If you could give examples, please go for it. But try to avoid just blase, boring, oh, I was responsible for, like, go action, show impact, and go from it there. And then your LinkedIn, don't be passive on LinkedIn. Make sure your profile is completed. Make sure you're connecting with folks and post if you can. Engage, work at those things. And again, remember, it doesn't have to be about your technical expertise. It could very much be about a passion. And then vague asks, back to those networking, ask for people to talk to, right? Who should I talk to? Who should I get to know? Share, by the way, also share. Give them, how can I help you, right? Give them an opportunity to ask from you. Don't just send your resume. They're never going to think about it. Eventually, you could get to the point of, hey, there's this role. Can you refer me to the hiring manager? Depending on the relationship, you could do that as well, right? So be sure that you are making yourself a schedule. Make sure you're giving yourself time. Please do not hit apply over and over and over again. Mix it up. Look for jobs one day, apply to jobs another, network another, do some coffee dates, get on Zoom, things like that. Like, just break it up. And then do the same back. Like, when you're in a good position and people are reaching out to you, do the same, right? Give them 15 minutes of your time. Send them a message back. Like this, you can also reciprocate after, once you have been through it, you understand how hard it is, do the same. And again, realize that clarity on your resume, these impacts your value, who you are as a person. This could very much help you get the role that you will fit in and then want to stick around for. For me, it's when my clients land jobs, yay, right? We celebrate, but then I want to see them through. I want to make sure that they're happy there. It happens occasionally, bait and switch. Maybe it was sold more than it actually is. Maybe there's more of a dumpster fire than they actually outlined. I mean, that can happen. Humans are humans, but we really the goal is to find the job that fits, where you can stick around. I don't want you searching in 3 months, right? That's not the idea. You want to grow in that role and potentially move up or learn something new, things like that. Okay. So here's what you should be doing this week. Look at the top third of your resume, that title, your unique value proposition. Make sure that is solid about you, your values, your areas of expertise, brand yourself. And then when it comes to the rest of the resume with your jobs, very short responsibilities, context. Think more context than responsibilities. Context of what you're talking about, what you were responsible for. And then those bullets should be impact. Think keyword category, and then show that impact with metrics or examples that you can, right? Send 5 warm introductions. Go reach out to people you know, chat them up, and then ask them for introductions so you can expand your network and learn more. And then for your interview, think about how you're introducing yourself, right? Who you are, recap of your history, very, very short, and then those 3 values that you bring to the table, who you are, okay? So working a little bit on your resume, update your LinkedIn, work on your script, and you have the foundation to have a very strong job search, even in this crazy, crazy market. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Next Step Career Corner. If you loved today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's standing at a career crossroads. And if you want to connect or learn more, please follow me at nextstepcareerservices.com. Until next time, keep taking your right next step. Bye.